What's going on, Bully fam? It's your boy, the educator, the scientist, Mr. Double Muscle Line Bulls, bringing you another quick episode of Breeders' Hacks. So, in the car again, my wife had to go into the doctor's office with my son because of COVID. I'm not allowed in. So, unfortunately, I'm stuck here waiting in the car. But fortunately for you guys get another quick episode of Breeders' Hacks. So, I've been thinking about doing this for a little while now. Basically, I've been having a lot of people, newer breeders, contact me about, different stages when it comes to the breeding process. So I wanted to do an episode covering the breeding process from kind of like start to finish, just kind of giving you guys step by step what you would expect when it comes to, the whole process of acquiring your female, puppies, things like that, So that's what this episode is about. This episode is going to be about kind of the things that you can expect at what stages and points and things like that. Now, I'm not going to go in super detail on certain aspects because I probably already have an episode about it, or I will be doing an episode on it. So this is really just a quick general guide as to like what kind of takes place from start to finish for my newer breeders. So when the breeding process, right? So what's going to happen is obviously, as a breeder, you're going to have your female, you have your female, and you're going to obviously wait till she comes into heat. When she comes into heat, that's where this whole thing really kind of starts, when she comes into heat, and heat is essentially, the timing of the dog when she's going to be fertile, when you're going to be able to breed her, when she's only going to be eligible to be bred when she's in heat. So when I say a dog is in heat, that's what I mean, is that time period where she goes into heat, and it's typically around a 2-week window where she starts showing blood all the way up until day like 9 to 13 will be like, you usually have a 48-hour window that is optimal for breeding. And in that window, that's when you're gonna want to do your breeding. So like I said, you have your female. The first signs of blood, she's gonna swell up, her vulva is gonna swell up, and she's gonna start bleeding, similar to that of a period of, like, I guess you could say like a woman or something like that, so she's gonna be bleeding. You can use, I've seen people use diapers, I've seen people use kid size underwear and put like the pads, the women's pads inside the kids' underwear, and they'll put that on the dog to, like, so they're not bleeding all around the house, things like that. So yeah, so when the dog is bleeding, the first sign of blood, that is what you're going to count as your day 1. Now, typically, when you see the blood and you count that day 1, you're going to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anywhere between 5 and 7 is when you're going to go ahead and want to do your first progesterone test. I have an episode on progesterone testing. You could go check it out. I'll put like a little quick clip of it somewhere here. You can check that episode out, and that's more in depth into understanding progesterones and timing and things like that. But essentially, on your day 5 to 7, and let me backtrack. When your female first comes into heat, depending on your situation, right? If you have a stud that you're locked in with, contact the stud owner. Let them know right away that, hey, my female's in heat. I want to give you a heads up so that we can make sure this breeding happens. Because depending on the stud owner, a lot of studs nowadays, I mean, they're getting used quite often. You know what I'm saying? So you need to give the stud owner plenty of time in advance to let them know your female's in heat. It's on their radar. They'll make sure that the breeding happens, So that's the first thing, is when you see the first signs of blood, notify stud owner. If you own the stud and it's in-house breeding, even better. You already know. So you're going to wait until day 5 to day 7. Somewhere in that window, you're going to want to go ahead and get your first progesterone test done. I strongly suggest getting progesterone tests done so that you don't miss the breeding. Some people still do it the traditional way of just, timing it based off of days. Like I said, I have an episode going into progesterone testing and things like that. But essentially, like I said, if you have a stud owner and they're shipping the semen, 90% of the time they're going to want you to do progesterone testing. If you don't and the breeding doesn't take, they're going to say it was on you. So best bet, do your progesterone testing. Don't miss your breedings. You know, it's a small expense to pay to make sure you have a successful litter of puppies. So anyway, day 5 to day 7 is when you're doing your first test. And this is really going to be more of like a baseline, you know, unless the dog was bleeding and you didn't catch it earlier. You may think you're on day 5, but in reality, you could be on day like 7, 8, or 9. So that's why I like to always do it a little bit early, just in case. And especially if you have somebody, say, watching the dog for you and maybe they didn't catch the blood or whatever. So you just want to be mindful of that, because some dogs will even just lick the blood up, you know, which, I mean, yet again, if you're not being mindful, you can miss a heat. You know, you can miss a heat. I've had a dog with another individual and they weren't mindful. And by the time I found out that the dog was in heat, it was too late to do the breeding. So you have to be mindful of that, you know. So after you do your first progesterone, that's your baseline. She probably won't be ready to breed, you know, but I strongly believe in always having baseline so you know where you're starting at. It's more important to know what's going on in the beginning, so much more than when she's on the top end, because she could be out of heat at the top end already. So anyway, long story short, after about, you know, you do the first progesterone, that'll kind of tell you whether you're going to want to test in 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours, you know. If she's a higher number, say she's like, I don't know, like a 10, I would maybe want to test again tomorrow, you know. If she was a 5, or say she's even lower, say she's like a 2, then you could probably push it 48 hours, you know. But anyway, so you're going to test, and you're going to continue to keep testing progesterone-wise until your female's ready to be bred. You know, you're going to want to catch ovulation. 48 hours after ovulation, you do your first AI. 72 hours after ovulation, you can do your surgicals and whatnot. So, like I said, you're keeping the stud owner informed throughout the whole process. Each time you do a progesterone test, what number she is, sending that to him so he'll be ready, and you guys are coordinating on when the semen will be shipped. All right. So say that was day 5 to 7. Now we're at day 11 to 13, and bam, she's ready to be bred. Right. So we go ahead, you know, we contact the stud owner, you know, we tell him, we say, hey, look, tomorrow's looking like it's going to be the perfect time to do the breeding. Can you ship the semen overnight? He ships the semen overnight. You get it the next day. You do your either, you know, your AI, TCI, surgical, whatever it is, and bam, the breeding is complete and done. You know, and that's one thing you do want to be mindful of, you know, when contacting the stud owner. Is there a preferred choice? Will he give you a repeat? Will he not give you a repeat if you do an AI? Some breeders only want you to do surgicals. Those are all things that you need to kind of speak to the stud owner and have ironed out before this all goes down. You know what I'm saying? Have a game plan before this all goes down, you know, as far as what type of breeding you'll be doing. Are they shipping it? Are you breeding in person? You know, things like that, you know. And now if you're not doing a progesterone, and say you have the stud at home or whatever, then I would do, you count the days from the first side of blood, and I would breed on day 9, breed on day 11, and breed on day 13. You know, skip a day. You're skipping a day. So anyway, so after the breeding has been completed, right? That's pretty much where you're gonna make sure the female isn't super highly active. I've seen this happen so many times. You don't want the female to be like a greyhound running around, bolting crazy, jumping off of stuff. You kind of want her to, you know, take it a little easy, you know. I'm not saying not to walk the dog and not to, you know, make sure that she's still moving, but I'm saying you know, you want to prevent her from, you know, potentially hurting herself, puppies, whatever the case may be, you know, taking it a little easy. And at that point, when you do the first breedings, that's when I start the females on like cleft palate prevention. You can give the females the folic as well. You know, I prefer cleft palate prevention, but you can give them folic to help prevent puppies. If you can't get your hands on cleft palate prevention. that we make sure that the females are in the multivitamin. I try to keep my dogs on a multivitamin mostly throughout the year, but I'll definitely make sure she's getting her multivitamin, and I'll stay on top of that. At that point in time, you know, a lot of people want to wait to give dogs multivitamins and cleft palate prevention when they confirm that the dog is pregnant. But oftentimes, by the time the dog is pregnant, she's going to be ready to pop within like a couple, like 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? They show pregnancies relatively late, you know, in these dogs. So that's what I would do. Start giving them their stuff right away when you do your first breeding, you know, whether she takes or not, because you know, it doesn't take a long time for these puppies to start developing, and you want to make sure they have the proper nutrition and vitamins needed in the development process, which is, like I said, in the beginning, not waiting until the dog, you know, is already showing signs of pregnancy. If you're giving multivitamins and in the cleft palate prevention and all that stuff, you know, when you're waiting, when she's already showing signs, you're already too late. I mean, you can give it to her, don't get me wrong, it's still helpful, but you should have been giving it to her when you did your first breeding. So anyway, now it's the wait time, right? It's the incubation period. Like, we're gonna wait, you know, hopefully she takes, hopefully she confirms, you know. First signs that tells you that she may be pregnant is you may see like redness around her nipples, right? Some dogs, when they're pregnant, they act a little funny, you know what I'm saying? Like a little earlier on, you know. It's really, to be honest, to the untrained eye, it may be a little difficult to tell if she's pregnant, you know, for the first like 30 days. You know, for the first 30 days, you might not be able to tell that she's pregnant, you know, depending also on the breeds, things like that. So, what does happen too is, and I would say one of the things you want to be mindful of is just watching her, you know, making sure she's using the bathroom correctly. You know, this is a time that when she's in heat and you're doing your breedings and stuff like that, it is likely that there is a possibility that she can get UTIs and things like that. So, you know, you're watching, making sure she's going to the bathroom correctly. You know, she's not straining when she's peeing, things like that. Everything is just going smoothly. You just want to keep an eye on the female. That's what I'm saying, you know. As well as and I also meant to mention, before you do the breeding, just to backtrack, you can also give the females pre-breeding treatment, and that also, giving them like these antibiotics before the breeding can sometimes help, as far as making sure that they don't develop like UTIs and pyometras and things like that, you know, after the breeding has been done and things like that. So you usually want to do that like right when they come into heat, so that then when you do the first breeding, everything is already out, or maybe even before that. So that was just some side information, because I get a lot of DMs about, hey, can I give a female like antibiotics or whatever. You can check out like the pre-breeding treatment. They have that like on Canine Pharmacy, and whatnot. So anyway, we're waiting the first 30 days. It's really tough to tell if she's pregnant or not. Like I said, you'll see redness in the nipples. What I found is that their vulva, you know, their private, stays swollen if they're pregnant. That's what I generally, you know, but I don't just go based off of that, you know. I look and see sometimes if they have like a clearish kind of discharge, it kind of means that they're pregnant and they took, you know. But you also want to make sure that that's not like a UTI or anything like that, you know, urinary tract infection. But yeah, I mean, it's really kind of tough to tell in the first 30 days. So I wait till day 35. At day 35, I do a relaxin test. That's how we confirm if she's pregnant or not. Now, what can happen is, with the relaxin test I prefer relaxin tests over ultrasounds. I'm not really a big fan of ultrasounds. I'm not crazy about them when it comes to confirming puppies. I think ultrasounds are great in other aspects, but for confirming puppies, I don't need to know how many puppies are in there. I just need to know if there are puppies in there. And I find that the relaxin test is more accurate than an ultrasound. Even vets get it wrong with ultrasounds, you know? So, and often people buy the machines and they are not quite familiar with what to look for. So they're thinking there's puppies there, or they're thinking there's not puppies there. Then when it gets closer to her whelp date, puppies start developing, puppies are born, or puppies aren't born, and the person's upset because they thought there was or wasn't puppies. So I don't like to really just go. I'm not really crazy about ultrasounds, so I just do a relaxin test. And a relaxin test, you're not going based off of, well, does it look like there's a puppy? Does it not look like there's a puppy? It's a yes or no, because with relaxin, it's a hormone that the female has and develops based off of having fetuses inside of her. So the only time that maybe you would do a relaxin test and there wouldn't be puppies, if maybe she absorbed the puppies, had a miscarriage, things like that. But other than that, in my personal experience, have found them to be like 99.99999% accurate, in my opinion. So I'll do a relaxin test at day 35, which is sooner than you can really do on an ultrasound or an x-ray. And I'll find out if she's pregnant or not. And like I said, we do C-sections, so I don't need to know the count because the vet is going to make sure that they take them out anyway. I have a really good vet and a good relationship with my vet. Some people don't trust their vets, so they'll get x-rays and things like that to make sure how many puppies are there. More power to you. This is just what I do. So, like I said, we're going to confirm on day 35. This is essential and key to make sure that you're letting know the stud owner, hey, look, she confirmed, or letting the stud owner know, hey, look, she didn't take, we got a negative, so that then they know as well, and either they'll honor you the repeat breeding or whatever the case may be. You do not want to wait until, say months and months later, and you contact the stud owner again and you say, hey, I'm ready for my repeat. And the stud owner's like, wait, so your breeding didn't take? You know what I'm saying? It's very unprofessional not to do that. That's a part of dog breeding etiquette. You want to let the stud owner know throughout the whole process. Yet again, you own the stud and you're doing the breeding in-house, then this doesn't apply. So anyway, I'll let the stud owner know, hey, look, the breeding took or the breeding didn't take at day 35. And if I have my doubts about it, then I'll tell them, hey, look, it looks like she didn't take, but I'll still let you know at day 60, if there's puppies or not, whatever the case may be, or if she definitely didn't take, whatever. But you just want to let them know. Once you find out, you confirm that there's puppies or not, let them know. And if anything changes, yet again, let them know. So, after we confirm if there isn't or isn't puppies, we hopefully confirm that there is puppies. So after we did the breeding and waiting the 35 days, now we got to wait about another, I would say another, 25 days, something like that, around day 63 days from ovulation actually is the accurate number. 60. So on day 63, and we're making sure that we're writing this all down. We're documenting everything. I have a dry erase board where I literally write everything that's going on with this particular female and this particular breeding. What days did we breed her? When did we confirm? When was ovulation? Things like that. And I'm going to show you guys in another episode because I still have one from a breeding that I recently did. So long story short, we're going to go ahead and count the days. And once we hit around day 57 from the first breeding, what I do is I usually start doing taking their temperatures. So on day 57 from your first breeding, what I do is I take their temperatures every day, morning and at night. It's a little early, but I prefer to have a baseline. You know what I'm saying? Knowing what her temperatures are normally at before I can even witness any kind of decrease or drop. So I'll take the temperatures morning and at night, so that if her temperature drops, see, the reason why I don't like taking the temperature just every single day instead of doing it twice a day is because of the fact that what if I take her temperature in the morning and her temperature drops midday? Well, then we have a whole, let's say it drops from, say I took her temperature at 10 o'clock in the morning and then her temperature actually drops that day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, 4 to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Could be like 15 hours later, I'm taking her temperature again, and her temperature may have dropped even more. She may be further along than I anticipated when I take her temperature the next morning. It could be 15 hours behind. You see what I'm saying? So I believe in taking her temperature in the morning and at night, so I have a better read on when her temperature drops. So that's what you guys want to do, is take their temperature every day. I think, and I suggest twice a day is really good, really ideal. It's a little tedious, but I have these little sleeves. Maybe I could put a picture somewhere here. I have these little sleeves. I'll even put it in the description where you can buy these from, and I slide them on the thermometer so that then when I'm done, I could quickly just discard them. I'm not having to keep re-cleaning the thermometer and getting poop on it, because you can only take their temperature really accurately through their butt. Now, I've heard of people trying to use the temperature gun for the head on the dogs. I don't trust that. So if you're gonna, I wouldn't use that. I would just use a regular standard thermometer and just do it through their butt. So once their temperature drops once it goes under like a 98.9, that's when you're gonna have puppies within 24 hours typically. I've seen it where sometimes you could take a temperature at a 99 and it goes right back up to 100. So you want to be mindful. So like I said, the 7 days before, I'm sorry, 57 days. At 57 days, that's when I'm taking the temperature every day, morning and at night. What I'm also doing is I'm going to start taking reverse progesterone testing. That's where, and this is all stuff, like I said, the taking of the temperatures at home, you can do that. If you have a progesterone machine, you can do reverse progesterones at home, or you can go to your vet, whoever does progesterones for you, and get reverse progesterones done. That will also tell us where she's at when it comes to her progesterone levels. And I'm going to do an episode more in depth as far as what I do, like leading up until the puppies are here and things like that. But between those two things, taking her reverse progesterones and taking the temperatures the last week before she's ready to have them, I have a baseline. I know when they're going to be here. And what you're going to do is, like I said, around 63 days from ovulation, as long as the reverse progesterones line up and her temperature, if the temperature drops, sometimes if you're doing the reverse progesterone, you may do a C-section before her temperature drops. So that's all things you want to be mindful of. People tend to want to do a C-section like 59 days after the first breeding. I don't go for that. I go for ovulation because of the fact that sometimes I have the whole episode on breeders hacks as far as progesterone testing as to why I do this. Not to go into crazy detail and eat up too much time, but yes. So once you do the reverse progesterone, the timing, we do our C-section. The puppies are here, right? Great. So when the puppies are here, what you're going to quickly do is hopefully you have your travel incubator or you have something to keep them warm when you pick them up from the vet, right? You're going to want to quickly make sure that they're warm. You got to remember, right? When you take the temperature, what is the female's temperature? What I just said, she's like going to be around like a 98 to 99. So the puppies are accustomed to being in like 100-degree temperature inside the female. People tend to forget that. Oh, I'll make it, like 70 for the puppies or whatever. You got to remember that's the temperature that they're inside the female with, So I keep it really nice and warm for them. And like I said, with the portable incubator, it's great because you can set the temperature to your desired temperature. They come preset already, but like I said, you can do that. So anyway, we got our portable incubator or whatever we're taking them in. We can take them home in blankets with the box, whatever. As long as it's not too far of a drive, we get them home. What you should have been doing in the meantime is that when you confirmed that puppies were on the way, you should have made sure that you already started to have your whelping setup ready. You should have made sure that, however you're going to be whelping, whether it was an incubator, whelping box, whatever the case it may be, once you confirmed, that's when you should have been worrying about that, not when the puppies were here. As well as if you have a whelping box, making sure that the females are prepared, making sure that the females are comfortable in the whelping box, bringing them in there. I would say like the last week before I'm going to have puppies, and I already confirmed the female, I have her sleep in there. During the day, I'll put her in there, let her hang out in there, get her used to that so she's not uncomfortable when the puppies are born and it's her first time in there in the whelping box and she's like, what's going on? If you're whelping her at another location, having her be over there for periods of time so that then, it's not new to her. You know what I'm saying? Because when she has a C-section, she's going to be very, out of it, still off of the medication, and just, dealing with these puppies, you know what I'm saying? So you want the transition to be smooth and easy. So you have your whelping set up, you brought the puppies home. Now what you're going to do is make sure that they eat every 2 to 4 hours, at least for the first 2 weeks, and you're monitoring. You have your puppy scale. That is super important, is having your neonatal puppy scale, making sure that the puppies are going up in weight. That is so important. I have an episode on that. Please, if you're whelping puppies, watch that, because that is super important. If a puppy is going up in weight, it's generally healthy, as long as, good temperature and the puppy's going up in weight. That's always an amazing sign. If the puppy's not going up in weight every single day, or declining, you have a potential problem on your hands. And if you address it quick enough, you can fix it. I get a lot of people who ask me, well, what's the, what can I do for fading puppies? Well, the key thing is with fading puppies, if you can't address what the issue is that's causing the fading, then there's not going to be like a miracle drug that you can give the puppy to save it from fading. For example, let's just say the puppy isn't eating enough, and you're not weighing the puppies, so the puppy's going down in weight, and then you say, hey, what can I give this puppy because it seems like it's fading, and I want a cure for this fading puppy. Well, your cure would have been to weigh the puppy and make sure it was getting its adequate amount of fluids, adequate amount of food. And like I said, on that episode of Breeders' Hacks, I have the exact dosage as to how much you give per weight of puppy. There's an actual amount that you should be giving each puppy for each feeding, So that's all things to be mindful of, So like I said, you're weighing the puppies are going up in weight. They're looking healthy. About 2 weeks, they're looking nice and girthy and healthy, if everything is going smoothly. You also have to make sure that you're tending to mama, because a lot of times the mamas get forgetting because you're so worried about the puppies. You got to make sure mama's doing good. Check her, her C-section, make sure everything is healing correctly. It's not getting infected, things like that. Any medication the vet gave you, make sure to give it to her, things like that. As well as, this is something that you need to be mindful of. Some vets may not tell you this. You got to be mindful of this. Some females, they'll do staples. I'm not a big fan of it. I prefer dissolvable stitches. But some vets will give you staples, and you need to be looking at what did they give you, because they may not say something. Maybe the vet was busy, whatever the case may be. I've seen this happen a few times. So make sure that if she does have staples, you'll have to bring her back, I think in 12 to 14 days for them to remove the staples. Same thing for stitches. If they didn't do dissolvable stitches, they did regular stitches, you got to bring her back so then they could take the stitches out. So just be mindful of that. Anyway, so the puppies are getting nice and big and healthy. At about 3 weeks, that's when you can go ahead and introduce puppy mush. I have an episode on that as well. And puppy mush is just helping transition them to solid foods. Eventually, you'll get them onto the solid foods after giving them puppy mush for a little while. At 3 weeks, that's when I introduce it. And basically, when they're on the puppy mush, that's when you really start to see them turn more into dogs. When they go from that 3 to 4 week phase, in my opinion, they start to really transition. They don't go from puppies that are needing mama and you so much to they want to be more independent, and as well as they start to interact more with each other and things like that. That's just in my opinion. So at 4 weeks, that's when you'll probably do your first dewormer, things like that, and then same thing, they'll just keep growing and changing, and then around 5 to 6 weeks, you'll probably be doing your first set of shots, things like that, following up with dewormers. And we have a chart yet again on Breeders' Hacks. You go to the information center, it gives you a step-by-step what you should be giving. And then at about 8 weeks is when they're ready to go, so it's a whole 2-month period. At 8 weeks is when puppies are ready to go. I do not recommend giving puppies, selling puppies any sooner than that, because in the last few weeks is really when they develop their social skills. So I would definitely at least wait till 8 weeks. But with some puppies, and depending on the situation, I'll wait 11, 12 weeks. You being a dog breeder, you cannot be afraid to hold on to puppies for people. It's just a part of it. So anyway, at about 8 weeks, that's when you could go ahead and contact your, you can contact the your potential clients, say, hey, the puppy's ready to be picked up. They can go with their flight nanny. They have their shots. They have their dewormer. Depending on if you're going to take them to the vet for a health checkup, that's all done, and they can go to their homes. So that's pretty much it. I just wanted to give you guys a quick general walkthrough from my newer breeders, like from start to finish, what's really kind of expected and what happens. So I hope this was helpful. I hope it was informative. And I just got my text that we're going to get ready to head out soon. So I'll see you guys on the next episode of Breeders Hacks.